Now I take this opportunity to invite Professor Sanjay Kumar Shukla, Head Philosophy Department, Ewing Christian College, Prayagraj, for his keynote address. But before that, I would like to give Sir's brief introduction. He is specialized in philosophy of Immanuel Kant and Edmund Husserl's phenomenology. He teaches modern Western philosophy, ethics, Western logic and epistemology. He has to his credit more than 6 dozen of serious research papers published in the leading journals of philosophy and anthologies. He has authored 5 books entitled Kant's Copernican Revolution, Revolution in Philosophy of Edmund Husserl, Philosophical Reflections Exploring Classical and Recent Issues, दार्शनिक चिंतन के विविध आयाम and modernity and post-modernity debate related issues and challenges. Sir has edited book, participated in several national international conference and seminars. The list is long and the time is short, so without taking much time, most humbly I invite you, sir, for your deliberation.
Before I speak about the theme of the seminar as a keynote address, first of all, I should congratulate our seminar director, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, and I should congratulate more your ICPR, which is funding agency, that has given permission to conduct the national seminar for 2 days on a wonderful issue. Rather, I would like to say that the 2-day seminar is quite short period. The discourse which we are going to see needs, for me, what I feel, at least there is to be a workshop for 7 to 8 days, or even your refresher course can be easily conducted on this issue. Discourse on the recent post-Indian philosophical thinking. Okay. So first of all, I would like to congratulate both, and after that, I should also express my sincere gratitude to the seminar organizer who has given me the opportunity to express my clumsy ideas in the form of keynote address. But still, I consider myself a worthy person to deliver the keynote address. One more thing, prior speaker has already thrown a light in a beautiful manner. So in that situation, he has shared the burden. You have made a nice deliberation on the topic, but I will also be doing further. Well, why I am saying I can be considered to be a person to deliver keynote address without any academic arrogance, rather with full Socratic modesty, I am saying that yes, I can deliver keynote address, just because for the last so many years I have been thinking in that direction. And in that connection, I would like to mention 2 names who has inspired me to produce this book, Indian Philosophy of the Recent Past. The title of the book is Indian Philosophy of the Recent Past, which has been published in the year 2022, whose publisher is ICPR and DK Printworld is co-publisher. So I have been doing this work since long, and how I started doing this job I would like to mention the name of late J.N. Roy, who was editor of Dialogue, a prestigious journal, multidisciplinary, but a prestigious journal. And they have just started your Indian Thinker series. An Indian Thinker series, I have been requested to write on recent Indian philosophers or thinkers, and in that connection, my four research papers have already been published, like on J.L. Mehta, Radhakrishnan, Ranade, and few more. So that has been published. But that has given me incentive, why not to complete this self-assigned project. So I thought that I should complete this project, which is self-assigned. So in this book I have taken 10 great Indian scholars of philosophy, but not included your Tagore, Gandhi, Aurobindo. Why? The reason is they were thinkers, and in my book only your serious professors of philosophy or trained philosophers have been included in my book. And in the last, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to my revered teacher, Professor S.K. Seth sir, because when this book was almost complete, I went to his residence and, sir, I am writing such a book, and I don't like the title Contemporary Indian Philosophy, because the word contemporary seems quite obnoxious to me. It is very confusing. What do you mean by contemporary? Contemporary to whom? Sir, I am making a request to suggest some suitable title. Then this title was suggested by our great teacher, Professor S.K. Seth sir. Why don't you give this title Indian Philosophy of the Recent Past? So with this note, let me explain what I am going to do in my keynote address. I will make an attempt to unfold the different tendencies of recent Indian philosophical thinking. But job is not going to end over here. When you have well demarcated different tendencies and trends of recent Indian philosophical thinking, you will also have to give their representative philosophers whom you are going to include in that category. Okay, so if you permit me, I would like to read some important portion of my keynote address with the permission of the chair. Yeah, but I will not taking too much time. I am very disciplined soldier that way. Within 20 minutes, can I afford 20 minutes?
Yes,
if you
sir.
permit me, 20 to 25 minutes, I am going to conclude. Okay. Well, the post-independent Indian philosophy is said to have unique tendencies in its recent trends. So, I have identified different trends and tendencies of recent past Indian philosophical thinking. To mention few, first of all, what I have done in my this draft, that is, it has been said by Western scholars, after Advaita Vedanta, no philosophical development has been made. After Shankaracharya, no further philosophical development has been made. But this is not a correct assessment of Indian philosophy. Why I am saying like this? I have reasons for that. And the reason is that, you see, the classical Indian philosophy, and then we have your recent exponents of all the Indian philosophical schools in the form of your Navinyaya, Navivedanta, Navimimamsa, and all the tradition. you have a great scholar who have developed the discipline, and at the same time they have also given constructive new interpretations, new philosophical insights you will be finding in the recent Indian scholars of philosophy. Okay, so first of all, this seminar is to be seen like this: recent exponents of different Indian philosophical school or system. So in that connection, I have discussed your Navavedanta. In Navavedanta, we have to begin with K.C. Bhattacharya. After K.C. Bhattacharya, we have Rasbihari Das. Then we have a legacy of T.M.T. Mahadevan, C.D. Sharma, K. Sachidanand Murthy, and so many others. In the draft, I have also given their important philosophical writing, which I am going to skip since we all know it, their contribution. Okay, now when we move to your Navanyaya tradition, there we have great scholars like Badrinath Shukla, and in recent we can put Fari Bhushan, Tark Vagish, Sitanshu Shekhar Bagchi, B.K. Matilal, J.N. Mohanty, Shivji Bhattacharya, P.K. Mukhopadhyay. They are serious scholars of Navanyaya in the post-independent philosophical scenario. Okay, and if we move to your philosophy of Jainism, there we find the promotion of Jain philosophy at two levels. One is at institutional level and another at your individual level. So, institutional level, we all know it. Here we have Pasharnath Shodh Sansthan, then we have Ladnu Vishwabharati, and your LD Institute of Indology, and so many others. And scholars like your Mahendra Kumar Jain, Dalsukh Dayabai Malvinia, N.J. Shah, Sagar Majal, and others. And when we move to your Mimamsa tradition, there we have Gangesh Nath Jha, G.N. Jha, Yudhishthir Mimamsak. They have great service in bringing the philosophical import of Purva Mimamsa to limelight. They have done faithful translation of several Purva Mimamsa works in English and Hindi. The recent exponent of Purva Mimamsa is Govardhan Bhatt, who has written the basic ways of knowing. Then we have Kali Prasad Saxena, Mimamsa Rules of Interpretation. And now moving to your Buddhist scholarship, we have series of Buddhist scholars like Harsing Gaur, then Rahul Sanskritan, Acharya Naren Dev, Satkari Mukherjee, well-known philosophy of universal flux, G.C. Pandey, R.C. Pandey, T.R.V. Murthy, Center of Philosophy of Buddhism, A.K. Chatterjee sir, Yogacara Idealism, S.R. Bhatt, Buddhist epistemology, and few others. And now if we move to your Shaiva Darshan, here I am in Kashi, and if I don't discuss about Shaiva Darshan and Kashmir Shaivism, then discussion will be incomplete. So it is truism to state that Shaiva Darshan and Kashmir Shaiva Darshan of Agamic tradition could not flourish. Yeah, it could not flourish like Vedantic tradition in India. But still, we come across series of serious scholars in Agamic philosophy. We all know them. Gopinath Kaviraj, Rameshwar Jha, Kamlesh Dutt Tripathi, Navjeevan Rastogi, Ellen Sharma, Kamalakar Mishra ji, and few others belonging to this tradition. Hence, we are in position to conclude that one of the distinct recent trend of Indian philosophy is enriching the classical Indian schools with new interpretations and philosophical insights. After that, what has to be seen? Your distinct in your distinct recent trends, we have a distinct recent trend in the form of your what I say existentialist and phenomenological approach. Then we have different shades of idealism, and we have empiricist and realistic tendencies. Then trends of linguistic philosophy, that too is quite developed. Then analytical philosophical approach, and another distinct trend will be trends of comparative philosophy. And after that, we should also give a serious thought to humanism. That humanism can be also treated as a recent tendency of post-independent Indian philosophical thinking. Okay, and my this keynote address is going to be concluded with the important contribution of ours. And what is the most important contribution for me? The most important contribution for me is a defense of metaphysics. How Indian scholars have defended the metaphysics, and there I will be discussing a few scholars and how they have given the treatment. Okay, so serious probing into the post-independent Indian philosophical scenario convinces us that there is a novel tendency in it by which the attempt is made to understand Indian philosophy through Western methodology and perspective. Some recent trends in Indian philosophy can be identified as, which I have already mentioned, your existentialist and phenomenological, and apart from that, idealistic, realistic, humanistic, linguistic, analytical philosophical approaches are also brought under discussion. If we try to see the existentialist approach in our recent Indian philosophical thinking, whom we are going to include? Naturally, we should include Rabindranath Tagore, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan and others, because they have tried to analyze existential situations like anxiety, facticity, attachment, death, dread, depression, etc. The existential approach towards reality, human nature and destiny bear genuine similarity with the existentialist philosophy of Martin Heidegger and G. Paul Sartre. And when we move to your phenomenological trend, the first name that appears in my mind will be K.C. Bhattacharya. K.C. Bhattacharya has tried seriously to develop phenomenological thought free from the influence of Edmund Husserl. The pivotal difference between Bhattacharya and Husserlian phenomenology is that in later consciousness is always intentional in nature. We all know it, intentionality principle. Whereas in former means K.C. Bhattacharya. Whereas in former, the consciousness can be both intentional as well as non-intentional. Your intentional consciousness will be at empirical level, and when we transcend this empirical level, we move to non-intentional consciousness, and there is a possibility of realizing the non-intentional consciousness. And he has formulated the grades of theoretic consciousness in his seminal paper. We all know it, the concept of philosophy, grades of theoretic consciousness. The impact of Husserl thought over the philosophy of Kalidas Bhattacharya can be easily perceived, as for him, the function of philosophy is to clarify the nature or essence of ideality, but at the same time he was well acquainted with the problem of relating the essence with existence. The existential and phenomenological tendencies can be easily located in the philosophical writings of P.J. Chaudhary, J.N. Mohanty, N.V. Banerjee and others. And we find different shades of idealism. This idealism is not a homogeneous, it is not a homogeneous structure. Rather it is heterogeneous in nature. Not only one type of idealism, rather we have different shades of idealism. I can give you at least 6 to 7 shades of idealism and the representative within idealism. Not one type of idealism, different shades of idealism. For example, if you see how idealism begins with your absolute idealism, there is significant trait of contemporary or recent Indian philosophy. The recent Indian philosophers were influenced mostly by idealism of Kant, Green, Bradley, Bosake and others. The inception and growth of recent Indian idealism starts with the modification of Hegelianism, and this can be well demonstrated in the philosophical thought of B.L. Seal and H.L. Herder. And then we have A.R. Wadia. He attempts to furnish a new kind of idealism which has imprint of Advaitic and Hegelian philosophy. It does not admit the dualism of empirical and transcendental. Instead, attempts to explain empirical or Vyavhar on the basis of transcendental, that is Parmarthic. So this is a pragmatic idealism. The idealistic empiricism can be another variety of idealism, whose foremost representative is S.N. Das Gupta. And then we have universal idealism. Universal idealism can be another variant of idealism. The prominent representative of this trend are A.C. Mukherjee, D.M. Datta, P.T. Raju and others. Their idealism can be said to be universal in two senses. Why I am calling it universal idealism? There has to be some ground or justification. Yeah, we have a ground or justification or rationale for calling it universal idealism. Not absolute, universal idealism. The ground for calling it universal idealism will be like this. The philosophical methodology of these thinkers, being comparative in nature, contains the authentic philosophical insights of all the philosophies of the world. For them, all the special objects and space itself are spiritual in nature. Then we have A.C. Mukherjee. Mukherjee attempts to formulate a kind of idealism through the critical examination of Indian and Western idealism. Then we have a Datta, D.M. Datta. And after that we have a P.T. Raju. P.T. Raju has attempted to develop his idealism through comparative methodology. K.C. Bhattacharya represents the absolute idealism in which Brahman is truth, freedom and value. Alternatively, three alternatives of absolute. And your Brahman is not indescribable but speakable. And here we can see the difference of K.C. Bhattacharya from Kant. Because for Kant, nominal is going to be unknown and unknowable but thinkable. But for K.C. Bhattacharya, your absolute or Brahman is knowable but not thinkable. How come? Just because your K.C. Bhattacharya belongs to your Advaitic tradition, and in Advaitic tradition we have the tool of Aparokshanbhuti, immediate intuitive experience. And in Kantian philosophy there is no scope for immediate intuitive experience. So Kant cannot accept nominal to be knowable, but in our Indian tradition, whether it is the case of K.C. Bhattacharya, whether it is the case of T.R.V. Murthy, there we have the concept of pragya, and here we have the tool of Aparokshanbhuti. So here Brahman can never be unknown and unknowable. It is knowable, but not thinkable. Okay. Then we have a axiological idealism. And axiological idealism, we can easily put N.K. Devraj, A.G. Jadwaker and Professor S.L. Pandey, because for them reality is neither an object nor an idea, but it is value. There is a pressing need for reconstructing and re-evaluation of values. And your freedom is a supreme value, and it is on this basis now axiology is coming into scene with fresh insights and vigor. So, hence it can be stated that recent idealistic trend of Indian philosophy has different shades. And then we have impulses and realistic tendencies. We come across impulses and realistic tendencies of post-independent Indian philosophy. Representative philosophers of this distinct trend are S.T. Chatterjee, J.N. Sinha, Nagaraj Sharma and others. They have an irresistible tendency to oppose Indian idealism in general and Advaita Vedanta in particular. Indian idealism in general and Advaita Vedanta in particular. Why? Because they are impulsive and realistic philosophers. These philosophers were your J.N. Sinha, S.C. Chatterjee and others were deeply influenced by Vallabh Vedanta, Jainism, Nyaya Visheshik of Indian realistic school on the one hand and Western realists like Bertrand Russell, A.N. Whitehead, G.G. Moore, Samuel Alexander and others. Then we have trends of linguistic philosophy. Linguistic philosophy has turned out to be the most dominating trend of Western philosophy in present scenario. Representative philosophers of this tradition are in Western. We all know it. Ludwig Wittgenstein, Rudolf Carnap, J.L. Austin, Quine, Strawson. But it cannot be said like this that linguistic trend has been given by Western scholars. No, it is not. We already had this linguistic tendency in our ancient Indian philosophical text. In classical Indian philosophy, we do have linguistic tendency. It is true to state that linguistic philosophy is a recent trend of Western philosophy, whereas for India, it is subject of quite ancient philosophical discourse. We all know them. Panini, Patanjali, Bhartari and other grammarians have extensively written on different significant issues of language like syntax, semantics and pragmatics. They have written extensively. And now I'm moving to the recent exponent of linguistic trends or tendencies. We can give illustrations of recent Indian scholars who have made seminal contribution in this field. To mention few, K.S. Iyer, Bhartari, Gaurinath Shastri, Philosophy of Word and Meaning, K.K. Raja, Indian Theory of Meaning, R.C. Pandey, Problem of Meaning in Indian Philosophy, B.K. Matilal, big name, The Word of the World, P.K. Mukhopadhyay, Nyaya Theory of Linguistic Performances, D.N. Tiwari, Problems of Bhartari Philosophy and others. And now moving to analytico-philosophical approach. The analytico-philosophical method is a significant trait of post-independent Indian philosophy whose motive was to have a correct analysis of text. Sri Jivan Bhattacharya has employed advanced mathematical logic for better understanding of Nav-Nyaya text. B.K. Matilal has made use of analytical method in explaining Nyaya realism. Ganeshwar Mishra has learned linguistic analytical method in the company of A.J. Ayer and put it to use in the interpretation of Advaitic texts, among which Vivran Prameya Sangrah and Vedant Paribhasha are prominent. These recent Indian philosophers have made attempt to analyze ordinary language, correct interpretation of text and sentential meaning, and apart from them, they were engaged in analyzing the experience of one's own self. The analytical tendency is clearly exhibited in the philosophical writings of Daya Krishna and Rajendra Prasad. Daya Krishna maintains that we should study the text without any prejudices and biases, and not only that, they should be critically evaluated and examined by the method of philosophical analysis. We all know his famous writing, his work Indian Philosophy, A Counter Perspective, and Rajendra Prasad's philosophical writings such as Normativity and Rules of Language, and then your karma, causation and retributive morality are examples of analytical writings in Indian philosophy. Now moving to trends of comparative philosophy. The comparative philosophy is another distinct recent trends in Indian philosophy. Around the mid-19th century and onwards, some scholars have started an investigating probe into the common ideas in the philosophies of the East and the philosophy of West in a systematic manner and perceived in them the seeds of the future world philosophy. It is not like that East is East and West and never can they meet. It's not like that. No, we can have confluence of the two. They are not diametrically opposed. Your Eastern and Western philosophical thinking cannot be diametrically opposed. No. And in comparative philosophy, a great work has been done by your Radhakrishnan, your P.T. Raju and so many others. The champions of comparative philosophy in post-independent philosophical scenes are S. Radhakrishnan, P.T. Raju, R.D. Ranade, A.C. Mukherjee, D.M. Datta, C.D. Sharma, S.L. Pandey and others. It is not only a critical and comparative account between Indian and Western philosophy, rather a comparison can be made within the same tradition, either in Indian or Western parlance. The purpose is to draw parallels and divergence between the two. It is no surprise that there can be genuine similarities between Indian and Western philosophy, like Shankaracharya and Bradley, Ramanujan and Hegel. It has been done. Lot has been done, and many others. But one should not ignore the differences of cultural perspective. There will be always the difference of cultural perspective, which one should not ignore. There can be some similarity, but there is bound to be differences also. Not identical. So Shankaracharya and Bradley cannot be identical. No, there has to be and there will be a difference of cultural perspective. But still we do make a comparison. Yeah, for better understanding, for mutual supplementation. Then Radhakrishnan, we have Eastern religion and Western thought, and then Indian philosophy 2 volume, and your P.T. Raju's famous writing will be Idealistic Thought of India, Thought and Reality, Indian Idealism and Modern Thought, and Raju's Introduction to Comparative Philosophy is acknowledged by Indian intellectual community as a serious and foundational work in the field of comparative philosophy. Now, moving to the humanism. I am running very fast. Okay. Well, if you see humanism, same can be said, as it has been said, your idealism is not a homogeneous entity. Similarly, your humanism cannot be a homogeneous entity. It has to have different shades. So, for the sake of convenience, within 5 minutes only. For the sake of convenience, what we can do? We can divide your humanism under 2 heads. One will be called religious humanism and other will be your secular humanism. And religious humanism, I can easily include philosophers like Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Radhakrishnan and others. And when I talk about secular humanism, in that we have, it starts with your M.N. Roy, Jawaharlal Nehru, and then we have N.K. Devraj, creative humanism, and even Professor Sanjay Pandey has done a great job regarding your humanism, and his famous concept is concept of Lokayan Darshan. Professor Sanjay Pandey ji's concept is concept of Lokayan Darshan, because for him humanism is clearly opposed to any form of supra-humanism or spiritual transcendence. So it is Lokayan Darshan, and he offers 4 criteria of humanism, which I am not going to discuss, it is well known. And now moving to the last part, that will be Indian defense of metaphysics. Very fascinating, Indian defense of metaphysics. Indian philosophical thought has been deeply metaphysical in spirit, and therefore the response of contemporary Indian scholars towards logical positivist move of eliminating the metaphysics can be said to be not only the recent trend of Indian philosophy, rather it also highlights their significant contribution and commitment towards philosophy. And you see here, in defense of metaphysics, again we have two distinct tendencies. We can easily identify two distinct. One will be defending the metaphysics in a traditional grand style, defending the metaphysics in a traditional grand style, and in that I am going to include Kalidas Bhattacharya, J.N. Chubb and others. And the second will be your idea of presenting descriptive metaphysics, alternative model, and this we find in the philosophical writings of J.N. Mohanty and S.N. Ganguly. There is another group of Indian scholars who have made a serious effort to defend metaphysics against the onslaught of logical positivism. The sincere efforts in this direction is made by several Indian scholars like T.R.V. Murthy, A.K. Chatterjee, R.K. Tripathi, R.S. Mishra, N.K. Devraj, S.S. Roy, S.L. Pandey, D.N. Dwivedi, G.C. Nayak and few others. They have not only pointed out the defects lurking in the positivistic elimination of metaphysics, but also forcefully demonstrated the nature, purpose and significance of metaphysics in their philosophical writing. It is the question of being, B capital. It is the question of being, B capital, which alone provides ground for divergent metaphysical formation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening, thought-provoking keynote address, and especially the emphasis you gave on the inclusion of post-Indian philosophers and the idea of heterogeneity in idealism which you introduced. It was quite interesting to go through. Thank you, sir, once again.